Hello my dearest INFJ entrepreneurs, welcome back to another video. Or if you are listening to this one on the INFJ Entrepreneurs podcast, welcome back to the podcast. Today, we're going to talk about some of the traits that INFJs have that makes us irreplaceable in business. And I love this topic, and this was brought to you by one of our fellow INFJs. And the first thing I'm going to do with this topic is I'm going to flip it, and I'm going to change the word irreplaceable to invaluable. And I'm going to explain to you why first. When I started in my business, I recognized that I was in a marketplace with people who offered very similar things that I did. And the very first business that I ever offered was running Facebook ads for small businesses. That was my very first business endeavor, and that was my main skill. Since what I was offering was something that was very common in the marketplace, and since I had clients who came for a 1 month campaign and they kind of dropped off, and maybe sometimes for 2 weeks, and they kind of dropped off, what happened was I felt this need to become irreplaceable in their eyes, because that was the only way for me to not only secure them for long term, but also feel like I don't have to compete with everyone else in the marketplace, even though I had to. And also feel like, okay, I have so much value that they would want to stay with me long term. It came from this need of not having to chase clients every month. And it came from this need of just feeling somehow security in my business financially. Okay? So that was the time when I was aiming for irreplaceability. And what I have found was that I had to think about the word irreplaceable and what that meant to me and when this whole thing started to break down for me. So what I have noticed is that when I was aiming for irreplaceability, and that was my thought process, and those were the behind the scenes reason, even though they made sense to me at the time, and it makes sense to you if that's what you're looking for right now, and that's why you clicked into this video. What I have noticed is that when we are irreplaceable in business, it means that there's something in us that if we weren't in the business, it would not operate. For example, you're so needed that without you, something would collapse. That without you, something would not work the right way. And there were times when, because I was aiming for irreplaceability, because I didn't want to chase clients all the time and I wanted security, that I have attracted clients who actually felt that way. That they were messaging me on weekends like, hey, Tommy, I need your help, I need your help, I need your help. And it became this, I need you so much, I can't function without you. And that to me was very annoying. That applied a pressure that, oh my God, like without me, they would collapse. That would give me such responsibility that I didn't want at the time. I was like, oh my God, without me, they would collapse. And imagine if that's how you are. Like, yes, you are going to secure clients long term, but you will also feel this pressure that without you, something go wrong, something would collapse. And that, I think, is a huge pressure, okay? So when I have attracted those clients, I was irreplaceable, but it also felt like without me, there would be some catastrophe happening. And I had very, very needy clients who actually felt that way. And they kind of ruined my weekends and they called me out of nowhere. And I hated that, okay? So even though I secured myself something that was long-term, I was also, because I was irreplaceable, I had this massive pressure on me to not disappoint a client, and it felt like without me something would collapse, and I knew I didn't like that. So I had to think about, okay, so this is not something I want anymore. So the next thought process for me was that I actually rather just want to work with clients who are sovereign and they have a business, and with or without me they would still be okay, but they choose me. And I choose them. And therefore, it's a choice that we both make, which then entailed if for some reason we work together and it stopped making sense for them, I would be okay with that. Okay, so some reason they decide they no longer want to run ads, they would tell me, hey, Domi, we actually don't need your service anymore. I would say, okay, perfect, thanks so much for this, right? So I wouldn't want to cling to a client beyond what made sense for them. Does that make sense? I know. Does that make sense? So I would never want a client to stay with me because they like me so much, even though it doesn't make sense for them, right? So I'm not wanting to be irreplaceable in a way that gives them pressure of I need to keep her around because I kind of like her and she's very unique and all, but it doesn't make sense from a business. I would never want a client to be working with me because of that. Like, I would rather want a relationship in which I am there because I'm helpful and useful, and they are paying me because I'm continuously helpful and useful. And if it doesn't make sense, it's okay. I would let them go and there would be no problem whatsoever. And sometimes I would be the one who recognized it. Like, we would do a campaign and I recognized it doesn't make sense for them anymore because organically they were attracting clients and things would move for them. I would recognize that and I would tell them, hey, by the way, I think we are good. Like, I think things are moving for you. I don't think you need me anymore. And they will be so grateful for that observation that they would just want to pay me for an extra month because they were like, wow, thank you. Like, no one has this much integrity to tell us that we don't need you anymore. I'm like, but guys, you don't need me. You're fine. So I think just learning to let people go if it doesn't make sense for them to stay with you is also a skill in which you are moving towards invaluability versus irreplaceability. Okay, so I need you to guys see that, because it's not about how do I secure myself so people never leave or clients never fire me or let me go. It's about how can I be a person who recognizes their inherent value so long as it makes sense for the other person. So there is this exchange of values and there's a choice as well in which they can walk away and you'll still be okay. Okay, so that's kind of the baseline of my thinking. And now let's move on to invaluable versus irreplaceable. So what I have noticed is that for me, irreplaceability is not something I'm aiming towards. And you guys understand now why. But what I like to understand, and I wanted to understand this, is what makes me invaluable. So the invaluable is something you cannot even like pay enough because they're invaluable to you. Not because of dependence, but because of recognition. And to me, invaluability comes through my work. So to me, it's not something I become invaluable, it's something I discover in working with clients, right? So I'm not aiming to be invaluable to secure anything. For me, invaluability is just about awareness. Just having awareness of my own, what makes me unique, and just having that understanding in my mind, right? And it doesn't mean that I'm going to tell people, hey, by the way, I'm invaluable because I have very good empathy. You know, it's not something you tell people, it's something you let them discover. It's unspoken, but once you have it in your awareness, you can kind of have recognition and be very subtle about it, or not so subtle, but it's something you just know and you feel like this is part of you. And it's like almost like you're self-possessed and just aware of your own powers. That to me is awareness of invaluability. Okay, so let's look at how do we discover those things. First of all, how I discovered what makes me invaluable is through actually working with clients. Is through looking at the way I see, like throughout the process, looking at the ways I communicate, I'm being present, or how I'm treating when problems, how I'm reacting to issues and problems when they arise. So it's like the doing things for the clients is what gave me this mirror of my own awareness of what makes me invaluable. It wasn't even coming from compliments from clients, right? Because sometimes they do say compliments and it feels good, but it doesn't come from externally. It comes from this internal recognition through actual work. Does that make sense? So the way for you to discover that is through working with clients. I'm sorry, it's not something you can just be like, that's my uniqueness, that 5 things that makes me invaluable or irreplaceable. Here they are, let me use them so I can position myself to be more cherished in the marketplace. That's not how you do it. You are working with clients and you discover your uniqueness through the work with them. And all you do is just have awareness of it. You can hold that in your awareness and you would still be okay. That's a different energy when you have awareness of your own powers, okay? So first of all, you're gonna grab your skill, which is whatever skill you have that is making you money. Some people, for me, it was Facebook ads, service, Some people it's marketing, some people it's branding, some people it's design, some people it's whatever. Done for you, it's consulting, it's coaching, whatever that's for you. Like grab the money-making skills that you have. And I want you to just have that in your awareness. Okay, that's the skill, I'm making money. And we're gonna run it through your cognitive functions. So for me, like let's take the marketing advisory role that I currently am doing. And we're going to run through NI. So NI is introverted intuition, and NI is essentially what is helping me to do is recognize patterns really fast. So patterns in the marketplace that people miss, that it helps you kind of envision the future, like see trajectories in the future, which can help your clients as well in some sort of future scenarios. You can see what will happen if they continue on the same path, and you can voice that, you can talk about that. And also NI helps to perceive. So I think one of the strongest INFJ entrepreneur business trait is perception. And perception meaning that you're able to see things that people don't see, and that you have such perception on situations and also mostly people, that with that perception paired with your FE, which is the extroverted feeling, you can be very precise in talking to people, and you can make people feel very, very seen. And therefore you can create safety in which people feel safe with you and they trust you, right? Like those are the skills that come together. Also, FE, like I told you, that creates safety for people to work with you if you're aware of that and like know how to create safety. But also FE is like empathy, right? You're able to put yourself into the other person's shoes, and you're able to sense when something is not going the way that that they would want to. And many times it helps you to kind of voice that. So you have perception and you have a way of sensing through your FE, like sensing what's going on for the other person, and you're able to verbalize that to them. So you have precision as well in your perception. TI comes to the play, and that helps you to be coherent as well. So TI to me is what gives the things that I'm doing structure, the things that I'm teaching structure, the ability to hear clients and organize their thoughts, the ability to be coherent and congruent. So whatever is going inside of me is exactly what is going outside. Is the ability to mean what I say what I mean. So my words, they have weight. They understand that if I say this, I mean it because I'm coherent with who I am. And also it helps there is this precision in my perception as well. So TI gives me precision of perception. And if you are honing on the skill of precision perception, and you create emotional safety using FE, and you're visioning the future and trajectories and seeing patterns, what that makes you essentially is someone who can see things very clearly and spot things very clearly and very precisely. So once you're honing on that skill, you can make people very, very seen. You can make people very seen, heard, and understood. And that is basically the one-on-one of anyone hiring you or working with you. Because if you have your unique skills, you know exactly who you're serving, like who you're serving as in the marketplace, like who you're serving, and you're pairing it with precision and perception and creating safety. What that makes you is invaluable, because no one can see people the way you can see them. When you have a business owner in front of you and you know how to use your skills, then you're able to speak to them in a way that they feel very, very understood. And here's the thing, the reason people hire someone or someone else is because they feel like this person gets me. They look at the things like, has this person done this thing for someone like me? But also they want to say, do they even get me? And even if you haven't done this for people like that person, you can get away with it so long as they feel understood and seen by you. Because if you can verbalize that, like if they tell you about things and what they're doing, but if you can kind of mirror it back with precision and understanding, they feel like, oh my God, this person gets it. And yet I don't have to over explain. And I think most of the times business owners, they just want to be understood. And you can use your unique skill of perception, pattern recognition, empathy, all of that kind of amalgamation to make people feel really, really seen and understood. That's why many times when it comes to picking you for a project, for example, or making a decision, when we create content about the fact that how much we understand our people, so they can recognize themselves even prior to ever coming to a sales call or a sales conversation with us. It will be hugely beneficial because you can use your perception to create content around things that your ideal clientele is essentially not struggling with, but currently is thinking about, or currently is having an issue with, or currently needs help with, right? And you can speak to that, and you can speak to that with precision, therefore they can recognize themselves. But that also takes for you to kind of get the reps in and talk to the people that you're serving so that you know exactly what's going on in their head. But even if this is your first time speaking to a specific clientele, using your perception and precision and your empathy, you can make them feel like, oh, this person really, really gets it. And it's not about parroting their words back, it's about truly wanting to understand them so that you know what you're dealing with and so you can assess whether or not you can help people, okay? So that's our unique skill. And I'm gonna add SE as well, because to me, SE is presence, but also presence in a way that is unfiltered a little bit. You know, I think one of the things with INFJ that everyone is always talking about is that we are chameleoning ourselves. That there is this running joke where people say, okay, which version of me would you like, right? And it's funny, but at the same time, if we are chameleoning, we are blending into whatever that is. And I do think there is modulation of presence and calibration of presence to that person that is not chameleoning, but it's just very precise. So if I know I'm talking to a business owner, for example, who wants a new website, and that's not what I do, but this is an example, and let's say they are in fitness, for example, and they serve, like, they sell nutrition supplements, whatever. They sell some supplements, okay? So if I show up to listen to that client, I can modulate my presence in a way that they feel understood, but I can still show up as myself. So when we have mastered SE, which is our presence, the way we show up, the way we listen, and the way our personality comes out, and we let that come out, it can still be feeling like we get them and we understand them, but we also have a backbone, that we also have a personality, and we let that shine through. And the more we get into feeling comfortable with just who we are, like a normal person, we get comfortable with our preferences of the way we see the world and the way we hone into our expression that is unique to us. That will also bring us closer to invaluability, because you're not just someone who can make people feel seen and understood and you're erasing yourself to kind of fit into a mold, but you're making people feel seen and understood, and by the way, you also have a personality. Does that make sense? And that comes out naturally to you. Your humor comes out naturally, your personality comes out naturally, and of course, with modulation and calibration, meaning that you're not going to unleash your massive personality on someone if the situation is not granted and it makes no sense. And we can run it through those cognitive functions and see what we are getting at the end of it. Okay, so it's going to be, yes, we're all going to have perception with NI and trajectory and patterns and visions for the future. We're all going to have FE, we're going to be able to sense what's going on for them. We're all going to be able to name it and create safety around it and a field of safety around it. We're all going to have TE, which helps us being congruent and coherent and trustworthy, making sense and structuring when people are speaking to us into ideas and have a little bit more structure in what they are telling us. And we're all going to have a presence to us that's unique to us. But it's going to come out in different ways depending on what skills you have. Okay? So those are the invaluable INFJ traits. And it's going to be invaluable to you in a way it comes out to you. And your exercise really is to see yourself through the work that you're doing as you're doing it and have that in your awareness. So you know it's not to secure anything. It's not to be so unique in the marketplace that no one is going to be able to live without you. Because remember, we said that's too much for us anyway. But just have it in your awareness, because once you have that in your awareness, you move differently. If you are someone who knows their value, you show up differently. So I think that's why that awareness is going to help you. And if you don't know, you might be thinking, what do I even do? What am I even unique for? But those come naturally through working with people, but basically running through those cognitive functions. Okay, did that make sense? I really hope that it did. Good luck finding out your own uniqueness that is unique to you. And thank you so much for watching and listening to this one. Come to our Facebook group if you are not already a member. I'm going to put a link in the description. We have monthly discussions and meetups, and so you can be in the loop when those happen. And whenever a new video comes live, you'll also be notified and added to our newsletter. Thank you so much for watching and listening to this one. And don't forget, courage over fear, progress over perfection. As always, bye guys.